Yeah. Uh, Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So my podcast, the name of my podcast is Pro Purpose. September's Passion presents Pro Purpose. What it's all about pretty much is about God, purpose, and life. That those are the main like three themes revolving around the podcast and all the episodes, along with business and other things as well, music. And yeah, so I'm Demetrius, the original host, and I have my a new guest, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Sure. Well, my name is Sixu. I am a career alignment coach and self-empowerment coach. I'm here to help connect creative professionals to their passion and value so they are aligned with who they are. So what they do are aligned with who they are, and they wake up excited for life each day. I'm happy
That's
to be
beautiful.
here for this podcast.
That's beautiful. And you said this is your first uh podcast, or like your first time like guesting with somebody else, like on somebody else's.
Yeah, sure. Mhm.
Okay. Yes. First time for everything.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. So pretty much I just want us to pretty much kind of like interview each other. Um, we can have the listeners, the audience, learn more about each other. Any new listeners that come in and listen to my podcast. So I guess I could start first by asking you um, questions. And my first question for you would be, what is your gift?
Oh,
So like
wow.
like your number one talent, your primary talent, the thing that you're the best at.
That's a great question. I think I have the gift of compassion and the gift of clarity. So to elaborate on that is that I am somebody who really cares. Once I put my heart onto something, I really don't give up easily. I give it my all. And in terms of like other people's feeling and what they go through, I'm very empathic, that I really can understand and feel in their shoes to be able to kind of provide guidance exactly how it will help them, because I always take it as it's my own problem whenever somebody shares about their issue, and I really take it to heart that this person really wants this issue to be resolved, and I will always care enough to, no matter what, figure out something for them. So that that's, I think, it's a give in terms of like how much I cares. And then in terms of gift of clarity, I did not know it was a gift until like people started to tell me just like, hey, like, so sure you have like insane clarity for life. We're just like, what do you mean? Like, you don't? And they were like, no, I'm like confused and lost, like blah, blah. And I think I have give clarity in terms of when people present an issue or a problem to me, I immediately see their blind spot. Like I know what's kind of the reason for them to feel stuck, like what's holding them back. So, and also, I think another gift is not relevant to my coaching business, but it's relevant to who I am, is that I'm a very creative person, have wild imaginations, and I'm a conceptual thinker. So whenever I get presented a problem, because besides coaching, I'm also an interior designer. Like I've done interior design for 10 years. So every time I get present a project, I really want to go deep into come up with concepts that best address, the location, the culture, and the vision of the client. And I think my gift is that I allow myself to open my mind as wide as possible. So I'm like, I don't limit myself. So I'm just allowing the universe to take me and expand however that I supposed to go. So like that feeling of that I'm always in receptive mode, that I trust the process, and I trust that this idea is going to work out. It's really helpful for me. So I guess this 3 gifts that I can think of on top of my head is, the gift of compassion, care, and gift of clarity, and the gift of creativity. Thank you.
That's really good. And it's good that you know all of that stuff. Because yeah, a lot of people, I ask them what's their gift, and they would just tell me they don't know. And I'll have to like kind of like try to tell them like, okay, what are you good at? Like, what if people told you that you got? You're good at something.
Yeah.
So that's really great that you know it that very well, like that, like 3 of all the 3. So
Thank you.
And just kind of a side question. Well, what is your location? Like, where are you from?
Oh, I currently live in Seattle, Washington State. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
wow.
So
That's
much
interesting.
greenery.
That's interesting. I actually have a friend that was an old roommate and colleague, and he moved up there, and I believe he's still living up there right now.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous city. I always feel like this is a mature city to be, because the mountain, the trees is very grounding. Like, you feel like, I at least speak for myself, I feel very grounded here.
See, yeah. So, so now moving forward to my second question. Um, second question is, what is your passion? Like, what do you like really, really love?
That's a good question. My passion is to help people. I want to be helpful. I want to feel like I am being helpful. And that's how I landed my coaching business, because I was interior design. I was doing interior design for 10 plus years. And after COVID, I got laid off, and I just feel like, I just feel burned out. I don't feel like I want to just get another job and get another interview and do all that process again. And I feel like there's something else I want to do. And if anyone was interested to check out the blog I wrote on my website about how I found my purpose, is like, I used to date this guy and I love him so much that I made him my purpose, like helping him figure out his life, helping him be happy, helping him solve whatever problem he's going through was my number 1 priority, more than what I need to do for myself. But then, he left and the relationship didn't work out. I feel like I made the effort, but then still end up going nowhere. And I just kind of really blamed on myself and went on a soul searching journey. Just like, well, now what? And then I realized that I love him, of course, for him, but also for the fact that I'm needed by him. So I asked myself, if, I wake up in the morning, what would be a drive for me to be very excited of the day? And the answer came to me not long after I had that question for myself, is that if somebody needs me. And that kind of just opened my mind and kind of just like got down on me, just like, whoa, I didn't have to just help this one person that I'm in a relationship with. Like, I can help so many others. I'm sure like I have an ability to help others if I can help this one person. So I think that's how I explored to become a life coach. is that I realized my passion is in being helpful, helping people, especially problem solving for people, or helping them find clarity, or being very positive support and encouraging. Like I'm a good if if you study like leadership, there's like 4 different roles. And there's the analyzer, there's the promoter, there's the supporter, right? And then I just feel like I am such a promoter. I'm always kind of just trust, have faith, staying positive. I'm just like, this is gonna work. We got this. We got this. You got this. You know what I mean? So I'm like a cheerleader for people. And that's what I like to do. And I think that's what I'm passionate about.
See, yeah, that's really good. And how long did you say you've been like on this, like doing these things, like on this journey?
Well, casually, I keep telling every time I met a potential excuse me, is that I've been casually doing since I was in my 20s. Like my 2 best friends, they treat me as their private counselor. So like every time they run into something, they come to me, we have like long hours of conversation. Like my record with one person is 13 hours, with the other person is like 7 hours. It's just like I can have a conversation for a long time if it goes somewhere. So I've been doing it casually since I was in my 20s after high school, but then professionally after COVID. So it's going to be 2 years this September.
I see. And when you say 13 hours, is that like 13 hours straight or like all together at different times?
Straight from 2 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Wow.
I know that was my record that I don't plan to break. We just got into this juicy conversation about like spirituality, about life, about failures, about success, just one topic of another. And there was some like hiccup that I have to pull him up in terms of like think positively, but then a lot of time it's kind of just exchange information.
I see. That's fascinating.
I know that's my record I'm proud of, but I don't plan to break it because at the end, like I didn't realize it was 13 hours actually until it was like really dark. We're just like, wait, is it midnight? 3 o'clock? And then
Is it midnight?
yeah.
That's funny. And yeah, time flies, especially like when you're talking to people and you're really invested in the conversation, and it gets really deep. Yeah, time can lose track of time really quickly.
Yeah, I totally like one of the questions I ask my clients is like, what activity do make time disappear? And I think having in-depth conversation is one of that for me, for sure. If I'm really engaged in a conversation, like 5 hours feel like 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So now I want to ask you one more question, and then I'll let you ask me a few questions. And my third question is, what makes you angry? Like what problem in the world like frustrates you, and that you would love like to be able to solve, like, or to contribute something towards being able to solve.
Are you talking about world issues like politics or stuff like that? Or are you talking
You
about
said war. You said war issue?
Yeah, is that what you're referring to?
No, I mean like just in general. It could be anything.
Well, here's the thing. It's a very interesting question, is that
Like any.
I am the type of person who can really tolerate a lot in terms of what really makes me angry. It takes a lot to make me angry. Like
kind of bad.
I'm usually not easily triggered in terms of anger. I usually just be able to kind of just understand or be able to ignore or be able to kind of not bother me, not letting it bother me. What angers me is like, I guess so far my dog sometimes makes me angry when he doesn't listen. So I guess what angers me is when somebody I really care about are putting themselves in danger and not listening to, to me to say, hey, this is dangerous. So the reason that I say that my dog makes me angry is that he loves eating wood chips, and wood chips irritates his stomach, make his stomach upset, make him throw up. So every time he eats more wood chips, after I just tell him no, it just kind of makes me angry, and I will just like yell and louder, or just like, no, don't do that, like, because it's like part of it. It's not just anger, it's like fear of him hurting himself. And also, like, I feel anger is never a true emotion. There is a underlying emotion, which is sadness. It's just like that sadness of what if something happened to my dog, to this baby. It's like that frustration. It's manifest as anger. But I'm not like really mad at my dog. I'm angry in terms of just like, oh my God, like this is scary, don't do it. Like it's gonna hurt you and it's gonna hurt me. And that's kind of like the most recent experience I have with anger. In terms of with people, I don't really get angry with people. I get frustrated with people. People can disappoint. But in terms of angry, I consider myself a very gentle person, and some people call me that I have a Zen personality or whatever, is that I don't like to have heated conversation. When it gets heated, usually you're just like, oh, I can't do this. Like I need to leave. Like I will just leave. Like I wouldn't continue engage. Like when I was dating my ex-boyfriend, I remember when things get really intense, like it always kind of end up with me slamming the door and leaving. Like I don't want to just stay angry in the situation. So if the question is like what makes me angry, I guess it's whatever makes me frustrated. I guess frustration leads to anger for sure.
Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, so it's kind of just like, what you were saying with your dog. Just kind of like, I mean, it sounds like, did you really care about the well-being of someone, or something that you love? And I guess like if you feel that they keep putting themselves in harm's way, even though you're trying to get them to stop, that, causes you frustration. It can make you angry.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. But yeah, so now I'll switch over, I guess, the microphone to you, to where you can ask me a few questions, whatever you want.
Well, let's just start with the opposite. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Oh, that's easy.
Go
Music.
for it. Oh, tell me
Music.
more.
Yeah, that's you know, like for example, last night I went to open mic. I watched other musicians perform, and I actually uploaded a video on my YouTube channel of the last band. It's like a trio, three guys, a guitarist and singer, and a bassist and a drummer, and they were like the best band that I've seen perform like in a long time. I think possibly ever, like in person, like right in front of them. Like it was amazing. Like they covered like some Jimi Hendrix songs, Elvis, and I think they did like one or two originals. And yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was a really great time last night. So yeah, it's just an example, like that's what makes me happy. It's music, whenever I'm feeling down or depressed or irritated, angry, like I could just put on some music, and not too long after, it'll make me feel better. It heals me, soothes me. It's like my therapy. So that's like the main thing. It's kind of like other stuff can be other things at times, such as fun experiences with people that I really like, that I really like to be around, or driving. Believe it or not, like I really love to like drive around, but not just anywhere, but like through like beautiful places. Like for example, you ever heard of do you know of the San Francisco Bay Area?
I lived there before.
Yeah, I lived there as well, very shortly, only for like a few months, but just like driving through there and seeing like that whole area, like I love it. Like that's because to me it was beautiful. I was not used to anything like that, and yeah, it's beautiful. I can't wait to go back there and visit. So yeah, going around, in beautiful areas and big cities, and adventuring, exploring, driving around, blasting music. Yeah, that's also something that makes me happy. So yeah, those are things that make me happy.
That's awesome. So do you also thinking the creation part makes you happy as well, right? The making of the music versus
Yeah,
listening to the music.
yeah. The creation, like
Everything
writing.
relate to music makes you happy.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. So what's the percentage you spend with your music right now versus other things?
Yeah, pretty much I would say 50%, I believe. Yeah, that's just about what it seems like, 50%. The other 50% is pretty much towards, me thinking, writing, strategizing, coming up with ideas, envisioning, things for the future, and learning. I love to constantly be learning, things every day about, just in life of it could be anything. And yeah, and just networking with people, meeting and developing new connections, like with you. We just met yesterday, through that wisdom app. So yeah, it's about like 50-50.
Awesome. Well, on the Wisdom app, you mentioned that you teach and coach. So what do you love to teach and coach? And do you
Pretty
have a
much
coaching business too?
not entirely. It's something that like it's kind of I'm starting more at the like small, kind of building that up from the ground. So I mean, but in terms of like what I love to teach and coach, specifically the most is pretty much purpose in music, and separately. So I can like, similar to you, I can help a person discover and figure out their purpose, their passion, their gift, their calling. You know, asking them pretty much like the same questions that I asked you. And yeah, and that's, how it goes, with I don't know if you can hear that.
Yep, no worries.
But yeah, just asking the questions and writing stuff down, and talking with them and helping them work through it. And, just kind of like, yeah, just going from there, when it comes to purpose and then the music, pretty much I teach them the most popular thing or most common thing that people like to learn when it comes to music is singing. So I, help them with that, and we work with people on that. There's like, a few instances where they might want to learn poetry or how to rap or play an instrument. The majority of people that want to learn something within music is usually always singing. So yeah, that's pretty much what I teach and help people with.
Nice. So now you're talking about helping people with purpose. Let's talk about where is the purpose for your music? Like what is the purpose for your music that you think? Like what is that action word the music is doing?
Of my music specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much to inspire people, to help them, same thing, help them to discover their purpose, and to pretty much like give them wisdom, of certain things in life, certain understandings, and just like the truth, the truth, the actual truth when it comes to the most important things in life. That's the purpose of my music.
Awesome. So I hear the word that your music is to inspire and to help people stay truthful to themselves.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what inspires you of your music? Like where you get your inspiration from?
It could be from, just different things. Like for example, I recently just got back into rapping. That was actually like my introduction, not into music in general, but into recording. That's what I had first like started doing when I first ever started recording. That's what I used to do, rap, like back in high school, like 8 years ago. But I had listened to some instrumentals from a producer that I've been following pretty much since then. And I don't know if like I've heard the instrumentals before, but for whatever reason, they just recently inspired me to start by rapping again. So, that's one thing. And there's like certain artists, and there's a certain like genre of music. Like my favorite genre of music, like kind of music basically, is progressive rock. So like Genesis, I don't know if you know the bands Genesis, Pink Floyd, Rush, like I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
Yeah.
they make like really like long, complex rock songs basically. And they're like very like, artsy and cinematic and theatrical. So, it's like really, really like powerful music, So that's like my favorite genre, and that like really, really inspires me. And as well as like other bands as well. So just like there's just different things, that inspire me when it comes to music. So yeah, it's but like at the end of the day, it's my gift, and my passion. Like it's just what I love, what makes me happy.
Right. So do you have an ultimate, you can say, a musician that you admire or idol or your favorite person?
One, I would say, I'll put two people.
Okay.
One of them is a musician, and he's a guitarist. His name is Joe Satriani. He's like my favorite guitarist. and favorite, I guess pretty much my favorite musician. Um, he's like a older white guy. He's bald, and he always wears shades. Um, yeah, like he's amazing. Um, and I discovered him back in high school, back in 2010. It's probably like 12 years ago. From the game Guitar Hero, I like played a song on there that was by him, and I just looked up the rest of his music and fell in love. Just went all off into the and along with a whole bunch of other rock bands, and just was introduced to the world of rock music, and yeah, I just fell in love. Um, so that's my number one inspiration, I guess, in terms of a musician. Well, my number one inspiration overall, he was also a musician, but he was a better teacher than he was a musician. Is his name is Dr. Miles Monroe. He's like pretty much like a black African pastor from the Bahamas. And he was like a very successful, wealthy businessman, teacher, coach, author. He wrote like 50 something books, and like 50 or 40 of them were like bestsellers. So yeah, he's like my number one inspiration, like in life, like just over of everybody.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So for the first guy, what about his music that you really love?
Just like the specific sound of it, just how good he is. And like, just, I don't know, like it just really, like, it's just something about his playing out of any other musician that like, it just really resonates with me. And also he's a teacher, and he's been teaching, music since he was like young, when he was in his prime, because he's like older now. I think he's like 60 now, or 50 something. But he was like in his 20s in like the 80s. And yeah, like, since then, still to now, like he's been teaching and I've been learning from him. Like he has like, videos on YouTube. And he taught some of the best guitarists. Like, I don't know if you ever heard of, well, are you familiar with like with rock music?
Not really, but
No.
I'm open to learn.
Yeah. So he taught some of the best guitarists, like Kirk Hammett. He's the guitarist of the rock band Metallica. I know like Metallica is like really big to the point where even people who don't really know rock still have like usually have heard at least one song from them on the radio or something. But yeah, like he's extremely skilled guitarist, and he was taught by Joe Satriani. And then there was like another highly skillful guitarist that was taught by him as well. So yeah, like he's a teacher of the greats. So like yeah, just like I said, like how good he is. How like his music resonates with me during his performance. His performances, they're always amazing. Just yeah, like just everything about like his gift and how he serves it is incredible. I just can't see how you can't be inspired by it. So
amazing. Yeah. So would you say that he inspired you to want to teach?
Initially he did it, but I guess now he contributes towards it. But initially, no, he didn't teach me. I mean, he didn't inspire me. He just mainly inspired me to kind of like pick up a guitar and learn it and play it and write songs and he's a big influence within me making music. But in terms of teaching, he didn't really inspire me to teach. I would say Miles Monroe more so inspired me to do that, because like I said, he's a better teacher than he is a musician. So, that's like half of it, but the other half of it was just, kind of like my life, like a couple years ago, not a couple years ago, 1 year ago, just last year, when I first started teaching, I had just, learned and realized that my second strongest gift underneath music is teaching. So I just decided, to put myself out there and start, exercising it,
Awesome.
and using it. So,
How long have you been doing music?
well, I've been involved in learning, developing. I've always been like a student of it since I was like really, really little. My grandmother put me in like in the church choir when I was like 5 or 6, I think. Like I was really little. And pretty much ever since then, I've always been involved in developing, learning, in music. Ever since then, I've always stuck with it.
You're saying your strongest talents in music is your vocal, right?
Yeah.
Like you really can sing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's definitely a gift. Not everybody has that kind of projector voice. Like for example, my voice, I just don't think it projects enough. It's like a little muffled almost. Like you have to hear it carefully. It's not like, I don't know, like some people's voice you can just hear it from miles away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's kind of like how mine is. It's just like really a lot of power and like
Right.
volume to it.
Right. It's very full, like a very full sounding.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's the questions I have for you so far. Do you have other questions for me?
Yeah. I have 2 more actually. The fourth one is well, I mean, I don't know if I want to ask it to you just so you could kind of like explain it to kind of like give the listeners more of a specific understanding. So, but I'm pretty sure you know it. So, and it is what would you do for no paycheck? And in other words, like what would you like love to do with your life if you didn't have to worry about money? Like if it was just if we didn't need it and like it was just no worry, like what would you do with your life?
That's so funny because that's one of the questions I ask my client in my confident program to help them find what they want to do with their life. Is that if you have all the money and time in the world, you don't need to do anything for money, what would you do? So that question for me is kind of the same thing what I do now is helping people. Like I just, in that case, if I have no money issue, then I can just help whoever wants my help. Like I don't have to select the people who only can pay me. You know what I mean? Like there's so many clients came to me and love the program I have to offer. And when they heard the price, just like, oh, that's not in my budget. Like if money is not an issue, I mean, I can help them, right? Like I think I have figured out the fact that my life purpose is to help others finding their life purpose. And I think we all deserve to live an aligned life that aligns with who we are. Like if you are not living a life that aligns with who you are, then you're living someone else's life. You know?
Absolutely. And so that kind of changes my next question because you pretty much answered the next question, which was, which is good, because all the questions I asked you were pretty much built up of what I put together as like the 5, I call it like the 5 most important questions in life. And they're pretty much to like, help show a person their purpose, within words. And yeah, the 5th question was going to be, what is your purpose? And you pretty much, said it. And the first four, you know, lead up to the fifth one. So yeah, so it changes my fifth question to just kind of a question that I just came up with in my head right now while you were talking, and it is, what is your favorite movie?
Huh. Oh man, I love movies. I love all kinds of movies. In terms of favorite, I just it's hard to say favorite, but in terms of a movie that I think is special, I definitely love Before Sunset. I don't remember the director, but I just remember this movie is pretty much full of dialogue. And this movie is about these two strangers met on a train to go. Their originally destination are different, but because they met on the train, they just decide to spend the rest of the trip together. And it turns into a love story, but the reason I love this movie so much is the conversation. It just feels very real. Doesn't feel like it is like scripted. It feels like this is like watching someone's real life, and it's very intimate. I just love that kind of production in terms of sharing a story and showing what life really is, instead of just have to, you know, a lot of movie are showing fantasies, right? A lot of movie are showing like this fairy tale love stories that it's really hard to find in real life. And a lot of movies showing the, you know, violence or just drama, the intenseness. Like, I don't consider myself a really intense person, so I don't really like things intense. So this movie, Before Sunset, After Sunrise, is like and there's like Before Midnight, there's like three of them. I think it's such a beautiful literature and art in terms of it just depicts real life.
And you said it was called Before Sensei?
No, Before Sunset.
Oh, Sunset.
You haven't watched that movie? I highly encourage you. It's beautiful. It's a lot of dialogue. There's not much plot, but if you listen to the dialogue, it's just like, oh my God, I'm just literally observing someone's life right now. Like, this is cool. Like, I'm literally like a fly on the wall, you know, following these two people around and see how they live their life in terms of meeting on a trip and what the trip is gonna turns out into. It's just very real. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of performance happening, which I love.
It's nice. Before Sunset. Yeah, I'm gonna try to look into that, look that up, watch it.
Yeah, I think you'll love it. Tell me when you watch it.
Sure. Yeah. So for me,
Yeah,
I don't
what's your
really
favorite
have
movie?
I don't really have one like ultimate like number one favorite movie. Um I have like favorites. So I could say my two favorites that come to mind right now. And number one is, man, I kind of want to say like not even just one of them. I kind of want to say like the whole like Rocky series. Like
Very
uh
it's very motivating, right?
yeah,
It's motivational,
very yeah,
self-empowering kind of thing.
yeah. The first one, second one. The fourth one, not so much. And the third one, not so much. More so, I would say like the third and the fourth one for like action and like the music. But for the actual whole entire movie, the first one and the second one um are my two favorites. So yeah, and I've also been like really researching and looking into Sylvester Stallone's background story, like his past, like before, you know, the first Rocky and, you know, before he was famous and successful. And it's really inspiring. You know, it's really inspiring because he, you know, had like a very rough, you know, painful past, leading up to his success. And, it pretty much shaped him up and molded him to be able to deliver and give us, the character that he gave us, that is Rocky. Like his past, it was very rocky. So like it kind of like it created the character,
That's really cool. That's really cool. Well, should we keep this podcast within the hour? Then I actually have a question that we can each share a little bit to wrap it up, if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that.
So I was thinking, how about we each share a little bit about what book we're recently reading, like we're currently reading or we recently read.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
you can start.
that's beautiful. So currently I'm continuing to read the Bible. I had a book that I was reading, but it got stolen, unfortunately.
What?
Yeah. So
hopefully you'll get it back.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ever gonna finish that book, but the book was it's called the subtle art of not giving a F, right? Fill in the blank. You heard it? You heard of that book?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
like not caring what other people say, kind of thing.
Yeah. So I was like either halfway or close to halfway done with that book. But the last book that I've read, where I read all the way entire, I'm trying to think the very last one. It was probably one of Dr. Miles Monroe's books, The Purpose and Power of Authority. That's the one I remember. Because there's like over a handful of books that I read through in the last couple of years. So I think that one was the last one. But yeah, that one, Maximizing Your Potential by the same author. I read that one all the way through. And what's another book? What's one more I can say? And then there's another one that I really like called Unlock It by Dan Lok. Are you familiar with him?
No.
He's a Asian businessman. You can look him up on YouTube. But he's like a rich Asian businessman, and yeah, I really like his story. That he talked about in his book, in that book on Unlock It. So yeah, those are a few books.
That's awesome. So I recently I haven't told you that 3 people that I admire the most so far. One, of course, passed away a long time ago. His name is Leonardo Da Vinci. I just think like he really has lived his potential with everything that he had curiosity for and trying to learn and explore, and with his amazing artistic talent, that like how much mastery that he has done for his life. Of course, I super admire him. But the 2 that's still alive, one of them is Sadhguru, which is a spiritual teacher and mystic from India. And the other one is Matt Kang. And I'm currently reading his new book called All for Love, the Transformative Power of Holding Space. It's such a good book, just kind of sharing about how important it is to be a good listener. And the way to be a good listener is not just about listening to the other person and then trying to respond and trying to react or whatever. It's just to really make the other person seen and heard and validated. And like they share something, like we tend to just immediately trying to find solutions and how to fix their problem. But the power is in that you hold the space for whatever they have to share. And you just basically engage in a way that make them feel that they're not alone. Like the most powerful thing we can say sometimes to somebody is just like, I'm here with you. Like, I'm here for you. Like, I hear you. Like, they're not really looking to just like, oh, what do I do? Like, unless they ask, and then we can give that advice. But a lot of people, they jump into that right away and make the other person feel small, make the other person feel incapable. But if we can just hold the space, just like, oh wow, that must be tough. I hear you. I'm here for you. Like, all these words is gonna be such like a nice massage in the other person's heart, to just tell them that you're not alone. I'm here for you, and what you said matters. And I think everybody should learn these skills to be a good listener and just, communicate with each other from a place of love, right? Because you care. When you listen to somebody, you care what they have to say. You're not listening to somebody to wait to say your piece, right? So I think that book is really good. And then another book I recently read is called Nonviolent Communication. They call it an NVC. So it teaches like basically communication is a piece of art. How do you deliver your communication is very important. Like always stick with your feelings rather than your thoughts to kind of avoid the other person to be defensive. Because when you're stating a thought, you're making a judgment, right? The other person automatically will want to kind of argue that. But if you say your feeling, it's your feeling. So it can be wrong. Like your feeling is always true. You know what I mean? So, and it teaches like how in a conflict that a lot of times is because that the other person desperately want to be heard. So to avoid the conflict is that you guys just take turns, like don't compete with each other. So it's like, these two books I think is really kind of elevated my coaching a little bit more. It's like I used to not be a good listener. I used to just like so eager, just like I know what to say next. Like I'm just like waiting for my turn to talk. Like I didn't understand what it is like to be a good listener and why I need to be a good listener. But later on, I was just like, oh my God, when you really pay attention to listen for the sake of listening, you understand so much better and you connect with the person at a deeper level. So yeah, that's kind of two books I recently read.
And say the names of both of them again.
The first one I'm currently reading is called All for Love by Matt Kahn. All for Love, the transformative power of holding space. And the other book is called Nonviolent Communication. I forgot the author name. Let me check really quick. Nonviolent Communication. I think if somebody is in a relationship that is like, this toxic dynamic, or even in like parenthood or something like that, I think this book is great. It's by Marshall B. Rosenberg. He's a PhD. So basically teaches you how to communicate from a place of empathy, collaboration, authenticity, and freedom. So it's a very, very useful book.
That's nice. Well, yeah, I'm a try to remember those and maybe give them a read. There's like other books that I still have lined up in my Amazon save for later that I want to read in the future. And it's like
I'll add it for you.
Yeah. It's like once you start reading one book, then there could be another one that you could find. Then you start reading that one, then there could be two more that you find. So it's like it could be, a little hard to stay on one sometimes. But yeah, I mean, pretty much gonna go ahead and wrap this up. And I just wanted to, just say thank you for joining in and collaborating with me. And let's definitely continue to network and just go from there.
Yeah, this is so fun. So you say you're already like helping people finding purpose and stuff. So are you currently taking like any clients or anything?
So when it comes to that specifically, I've just kind of like more so been doing that like for free, like with people, like friends and family.
Right. What I've been
that I
doing.
know. The music teaching thing, I've been doing that like with clients.
Got you. Cool. So you teach people how to change their voice to sound better. Like what do you exactly teach?
It's a part of it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this has been super fun. It's my first time, and you set a good record in terms of I want to do this again, either with you or with someone else. Because when I first heard the word podcasting, I just feel intimidated by it. Like, is this like big talk show? Like, you have to get really ready for it, and But this is like really chill, and I like it. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm gonna pause the recording now.